All right. And so I have been thinking while I'm on this 3 week break a lot about genius stuff, right? But then also The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. And like putting those two things together in this really coherent way because those are thoughts that have been going on in my head. And so, and mostly because like Gay Hendricks was so brilliant in like the design of the journey, like you're getting to your zone of genius. But then there's this whole other journey that happens like once you realize what it is, like what's the utility of that? What do I do with that? What are the opportunities? And then it got me thinking about Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. One, because that's the basis of like all the stories that we grew up watching as a kid. Even like right now, that's the basis of most of the stories in Hollywood, right? Like you set out on this journey, there's some conflict that happens that tests you. You got to leave where you are to find and go out on this new path, and then there's like this sage person, mentor, whatever that finds you. All of those things. Anyways, and so, but thinking through like the journey, once you realize what your genius is, like what do you do with this thing? What is the path? Like where is it going to take you? What is it going to do for you? What's going to come through you as a result of that? And then realizing that along that journey, like once you set an intention, and Myron, my mentor, says this so brilliantly, like disruption always follows intention. And if you do not realize that, you will literally quit in the middle of your assignment. And so disruption follows intention, distractions follow intention, conflict. Like I can go on and on. There's so many things that follow our best intentions. And so the hero's journey, I think a lot of aligns with what happens once you step into your journey, at least in my mind. So I'm going to read y'all what I wrote because I just want to kind of talk through it. And so the hero's journey is a classic storytelling framework that outlines the journey of a hero as they undertake a quest and transform into a better version of themselves. And so, this framework of the hero's journey and what happens after you step into your genius can be a very helpful way to think about finding what your genius is and then ultimately what you want your genius to do, which is what I call your zones of opportunity, and helps you understand the steps and challenges that you may encounter along the way. And so, according to the hero's journey, and I'm reading this, y'all. According to the hero's journey, the first step is the call to adventure, in which the hero receives a challenge or a call to action that invites them to embark on a journey. For you, this could be the moment when you first become aware of your passions and your interests, or when you feel drawn to explore a particular talent or skill, or dive deep into like, what is my genius? Like, what is the highest form of myself? What is the massive and immense impact that I'm going to have? What are my innate abilities? And so this is where this comes into. And then next, the hero must face the refusal of the call, in which they may encounter resistance or fear that holds them back from fully committing to their journey. This could be the fear of failure, which happens a lot for many of us. I know it's happened for me quite a bit. The fear of the unknown, or the fear of leaving your comfort zone, which is what I call your zone of excellence, right? And it's important to recognize and confront these fears in order to move forward. And so, and this happened to me, right? The first time I went through like the zone of genius, like exercise, it was just like, okay, I've identified with my genius. Can I actually own it? Have I become the person that can stand deep into this and say, this is my genius? And so the refusal of the call is a very important part of this journey into your genius, and then living in it and working in it and breathing and having things come through you as a result of that. Because now, once we've identified it, we can't hide as like, man, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm going to do all these things, or I'm not going to do anything at all because I don't know what my purpose is and my innate ability. But once you know what it is, now you have to do something about it. And I think all of us go through this thing of like, maybe that's not it, or I can't dare call myself a genius, or like speak loudly, or start acting in this way and becoming the person that embodies this thing that I know is truly what I'm meant to do and exhibits and holds on to and manifests like my innate ability by being in my genius, or even just saying, genius, right? And I always say that to people, like, we feel that genius needs to be bestowed upon us, and not until MacArthur Genius Fellows or any of these other things bestowed upon us can we own it. But that's farthest from the truth, right? And so this refusal of the calling of saying that I am a genius, this is my genius, and as a result of that, this is what I'm getting ready to do. And so I thought that that hero's journey part of like the refusal of the call is so aligned with once you step into and realize what your genius is. All right. And so once the hero overcomes these fears and decides to embark on their journey, they enter the road of trials, right? In which they face challenges and obstacles that test their skills and their determination. This is a stage where you will put in the hard work and the effort to develop your talents and your skills. And it may involve taking risk, making sacrifices, and facing setbacks and challenges, right? So like now you said like I've answered the call. I'm no longer refusing the call. This is my thing. This is my genius. And no one says once you own this identity of who you are and who you were always meant to be, that it was going to be easy. And so the hero journey said, you know, let me go back. And so the call to your adventure, and then the refusal of the call, which is extremely, extremely natural, right? And then the road of trials is this other step. And so as the hero progresses through their journey, they may encounter a mentor, a sage, right? Who helps guide and support them. This could be a teacher, this could be a mentor, this could be a coach, this could be a consultant, or a trusted friend who helps them navigate their journey and provides guidance and encouragement. We always see that in movies, right? The sidekick, like the wayward sidekick appears, right? And they're like this rough around the edge kind of person, but like they give them the guidance, they give them the courage, they or it's supporting them, like have their back. And it's always interesting who that person ends up being, and it's usually this unlikely person that becomes the trusted mentor and sidekick that pushes that person along when they start to question themselves and who they are, and sets them on a path, right? Okay. And so and then the hero reaches like the abyss, right? And so one aspect of the hero's journey is a concept of the abyss, like a moment of crisis or transformation in which the hero must confront their deepest fears and their doubts. This may be a moment when they feel particularly stuck and uncertain with the path. And when you feel like you are at a crossroads, you must make a difficult decision. And so they've set out, they've kind of left home, they've realized they pushed past the refusal to the call. They're sitting in the call. They're going along in the adventure. They meet someone, this unlikely person that's guiding them. But even if they meet that person that guides them, then there's the abyss, right? Like there is the biggest challenge, the biggest moment of crisis and transformation. And sometimes that's outwardly, but oftentimes it's inward, right? Like it's something we're still having this internal dialogue. Like, is this me? Is this my thing? Is this actually my genius? And am I responding to this crisis in my genius, right? Which is a whole other thing. And I think that's why that test is so important along a hero's journey, because it's requiring you to pull something out of you that aligns with your genius. And only when you do so can you actually solve this problem, right? It's like sometimes when we say we don't even know how strong we are until we're truly tested. Like we didn't even know that strength existed. I always call upon that when I think about my daughter, right, being 1.4 pounds. And I've told that story. Go find it on YouTube. I'm not gonna dive deep into it because I'm so excited about like this, like pulling these two things together: the journey to genius and your zone of genius, and then like the hero's journey and like the lessons that are learned out of that. But I didn't know I had that strength until I was tested, right? I didn't understand parts of my genius. I didn't even picked up the book about zone of genius at that point. But looking back, I was just like, man, like it showed up in so many different ways in the strength that I needed to not only personally myself and my husband get through that, but like to like, support and take care of a little person that was literally fighting for their lives. Anyways, all right. And so where was I? And so we talked about the abyss part, right? And so it's important to recognize that these moments of crisis are an integral part of the journey and can actually be opportunities for growth and transformation, just like I said, right? And so by facing these challenges and emerging on the other side, you can become stronger and more resilient. And I don't think you can become stronger or more resilient until you literally go through this. And so another key aspect of the hero's journey is the concept of the elixir, a reward or prize that the hero receives as a result of their journey. And for you, this could be a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment that comes from creating something meaningful and valuable with your genius, or the recognition and appreciation of others for your talents and your abilities. It's important to keep in mind that the journey to finding your genius is not a linear process, like at all. And by staying true to your passions and your interests and being open to learning and growing, you can overcome these challenges and continue along and progress in this journey, right? And so then like there's this last piece, right? Like you've gone through all of that, you've answered the refusal to the call, the adventure, the sidekick, the mentor, the sage, all of that. And then finally, the hero reaches the return home. And so, in which they have completed their journey and transformed into a better version of themselves. They literally become the person that could stand in their genius, manifest in their genius, unlock their zones of impact, unlock their zones of activity, and ultimately and forever unlock their zones of income, as a result of stepping into their genius and walking through the zones of opportunity. But you're going to be tested. There are going to be distractions. There are going to be disruptions in your life when you set this intention. And so finally, I lost my train of thought. Okay, there it is. And so finally, the hero reaches the return home in which they have completed their journey and transformed into a better version of themselves. This is the point where you have fully developed your talents and your abilities and are able to use them to create something meaningful and valuable. And so remember, finding your genius is a journey and it will likely involve facing challenges and setbacks, and sometimes massive challenges and massive setbacks, right? Knowing the difference between a big L and a little L along that journey, but you are going to be tested in multiple ways. But by staying true to yourself, staying open to new experiences and ideas, and being persistent and determined, you can help tap into your own unique talents and your genius and make meaningful impact in the world. And so the hero's journey and thinking and using that to think through what happens, like where Gay Hendrick left off, of like, okay, this is your genius. The hero's journey, and using that to kind of think through the next steps along your genius journey, is a helpful way to be thinking about the process of finding your genius and developing your unique talents, and then really kind of stepping into it and like, and really owning it, right? And so staying true to yourself for things that we hear all the time, being open to new experiences and ideas that only manifest themselves because you have now stepped into your genius, and you've become the person that can now use your genius, understand it, empower other people to step boldly into their genius as well, is what makes all of that journey really worth it, right? And so that's what I wanted to share with y'all, right? I thought I wanted to read through that, like actually to some people, right? And then really just kind of be thinking about how these two things like come together in this really interesting and unique way once you've realized what your genius is. That whole journey that happens after that, right? The refusal of the call, finding the mentor, setting out on this path and adventure, questioning yourself, being challenged, overcoming massive challenges, sometimes internally, sometimes externally. All of that is a part of the process, right? And you have to truly trust the process, right? And so that mentorship part I thought was really important. So I wrote about that too. And so a mentor, for the most part, I feel like we know what that is, right? And then I think we can hark back to any and all stories. I think Disney and Pixar, they use the hero's journey the most, right? And so knowing like that sage person that comes along, and imparts their wisdom and is the sidekick that doesn't allow us to like be down for too long or question ourselves and question our talents. They oftentimes see something in us more than we see ourselves in that moment when we're being challenged and we're being tested. And I always tell people like borrow someone else's belief in yourself until it becomes your own. I don't remember who I heard that from, but when I heard it, I was just like, whoa, that's so dope. Right. And so I feel like that's what the mentor represents, along the hero's journey and along the journey of you getting to your genius, finding someone that can hold you accountable, that sometimes sees the path a little bit more clearly than you do, or they can, in the moments in which your belief in yourself or your journey is wavering, they have the utmost belief in the journey and you. Not saying that they don't waver as well, but like when you're down, they're high, right? And vice versa. And I think that becomes like a two-way street for everyone. And so, anyways, that's what I wanted to share, right? Your journey to genius, and then understanding the hero's journey that takes you along that path for you to have full ownership of it, and for things to flow to you and through you as a result of you stepping along into this brilliant path that has your name on it, that unlocks the ultimate impact that you want to have in the time that you have on this earth. All right, bye, y'all.